Hey guys, welcome to my new video. I realized I didn't really do an introduction, so in this video I'm doing another reading vlog. I'm reading two different books, and then I'm also watching a movie based on one of the books. So stay tuned, stay tuned. Thank you guys for watching. I don't know why I always get myself into these situations where I am really looking forward to a book and then I put it on hold, and then for some reason I just don't get to it, and then it's a day before it's due, and then I'm like, oh, I guess I have to read it within the next day, or I have to wait like 4 months for it because it's a popular book right now, and if I put it on hold, it's gonna take like 50 weeks. So now I'm in this position where that's me. That's my position for this book that I'm currently reading. I just started it a day or two ago, and it's called Rights of the Starling. Rights of the Starling by Devney Perry, and it's the second book in the Shield of Sparrows trilogy. Trilogy? I think it's a trilogy. Which I kind of talked about in my video where I rated every single book I read last year. So I read this book in August, I think. And when I read the first book, I kind of went into it with not like bad expectations, but like mediocre expectations, and was genuinely surprised by how much I enjoyed the novel. Essentially, what happens is there's a girl, her name is. So I can't figure out the main character's name. That's my bad. But she's the daughter of one of the kings in this kingdom, and essentially because of a treaty, she is put into this arranged marriage situation with this prince from another kingdom. And it's kind of taken her by surprise because she kind of grew up her whole life being unnoticed, being forgotten and looked over, and her sister was actually the one who was supposed to be the one who marries this king. And her sister is very powerful in the sense that she has like fighting spirit. She's can be a spy essentially, and the main character is not like that. And so when she's forced into this position because of something that the other king does, or the other prince does, she is the one who her father is like, well, now you have to spy for me and uncover these secrets. It's really important. So she goes to this other kingdom, and there's a lot of secrets. Basically, there is this yearly or bi-yearly, every once in a while, there is just a bunch of like magical creatures, these beasts that come and just kind of kill everyone during this thing called like the migration. And so she's trying to find more information about that in order to help her father out, and what she thinks will like save people's lives. So she's there and she's trying to deal with her husband and her husband's guard and all these secrets that are popping up that she doesn't know about a lot about, but she's like discovering that. She's discovering herself because she was this person that was very forgotten, and no one really cared about her in her past life before she was married, but now she's learns to stand up for herself a little bit, and I think that made her a bit of a compelling character. So fast forward to the end of the novel, and I was really surprised by, this is a romantasy, and so I thought that the romance was okay. Like, I thought it was good. And I was a little bit surprised by the reveals of some of the actual like fantasy plot driven things that were happening. I thought that was super interesting, and I wanted to know like how the rest of the series would play out. I think that's how I felt by the end of the first book. So the second book, it's been what, like, I read that in August. It's the end of April now. So it's been like 9 months basically since I read the first book. And with a big fantasy, I feel like it's super normal to just be like very confused when picking up the second book because it's just the world building is so complex. So I tried to read like 2 or 3 articles that give like the full spoiler, what happened in the first book, so you're caught up for the second one. And even the beginning of the novel tries to like refresh you by like very plainly stating like a lot of the big secrets and reveals that happened at the end of the first book. But to be honest, I was just really confused, and this is not unique to fantasy novels. I think for the first 15% of a fantasy novel, like, you're gonna be confused just because it's kind of hard to grasp everything that's going on. And by the time I even like got somewhat close to like grasping what was going on, I think I'm still not like super loving what's happening right now. We get introduced to a new POV in this novel, and something about like very like naive slash stubborn characters, in a way, I don't find them super compelling. And I think that new POV kind of fits within that realm, where they like think that they know everything, but maybe they don't. And in addition to that, we don't get a lot, since it's been 25% into the book, and we still haven't really gotten much of like a perspective from like the male lead interest from the first book. The couple gets together by the time the first book ends, which is like no real surprise there, but we don't really know what he's up to, and I kind of thought that his perspective would be pretty interesting, and so I'm kind of sad that we are not getting to it yet. I don't know if it's going to come up later. And as for the main character from the first book novel, that is still a big part of the second one, she's been kind of annoying to read from, I can't lie. She's just like, I'm getting kind of sick of the fact that she has like no agency. She is kind of taken along for this ride at the end of because of the end of the first book. And, you know, no one's answering her questions. She has so many questions. And at least in the first novel, she had a lot of questions, but at least she had some sort of way to find answers or kind of rebel. But because of, you know, responsibilities and or just the way she's feeling, she's just like confused and keeps asking questions but doesn't really do a lot about it. And it's kind of pissing me off because, like, girl, like, I'm confused, you're confused, like, someone needs to have the answers and someone needs to tell them to me. So yeah, that's how I'm feeling about this book so far. I am like somewhat motivated to try my best and get through the book, but it is like gonna take me at least like 7 hours to do it, and I have a day. And, you know, I also have a life, so things are happening. So I'm kind of worried I'm not going to get to finish it, in which case I'll have to use my like Audible credit for the month for it, which, because this book isn't like amazing for me yet, kind of bothers me to do, but I'd rather do it than wait for however many months before I can get my hands on the audiobook again from the library. But I want people to know, the people to know, I'm walking into this with an open mind, not hater mentality. I was actually really excited to get this book. I literally set an alarm so I could be one of the first people to try to get a hold of this from the library because I wanted it. So I'm not sure why I'm feeling kind of negative about it, but no, I will be listening to it and I will try to enjoy it. I'll give an update maybe more towards like the 60 to 70% mark, and I'll let you know how I'm feeling about it then. Thank you. Hi, I'm back with another update. So I'm at the 54% mark of Rights of the Starling, or whatever this book is called. And I'm gonna be honest, I think I'm gonna DNF it. And you might be asking, Sonika, is that just because you're not gonna finish it before the hold is up? That's true. But in addition, I was thinking about DNFing this like at the 40% mark too, because I'm honestly just like bored and like not entertained by the story. So I kind of mentioned before how there's a new POV in this book, and this character is genuinely like so naive, and it's pissing me off. Like, I'm really annoyed by it. Like, she just seems like this like very overconfident, almost cocky like warrior, and then in reality she just looks stupid because like she doesn't know anything. There's also this like insta love situation with her, and I literally could not give less of a single fuck about that situation with her and her love interest. If he ends up like being evil and betraying her, like I honestly couldn't even care. I also think that the smut is just like, I'm not here for it. Like, I think it's just like not good because I don't care about these characters. And she just seems like someone who could be easily taken advantage of. Like, nothing she does makes sense to me. Like, nothing seems logical. Like, she only acts based off of her like feelings and gut instincts. It's like she doesn't have a brain. And I really hesitate to like call female characters annoying, but she's really annoying to read from. I just don't love it. Yeah, she just has no knowledge about the space that she's in, but she wants to operate as if she has like all of the knowledge. And it's just like, I'm just annoyed. And then Odessa, on the other hand, which, yes, I figured out her name. Odessa is the main character from the previous novel. Like, she still has like no questions answered. And up until like about the 45% mark, the story for her was especially boring because it just didn't feel like anything was really happening. Everyone she met, like, it didn't feel like they were developing real relationships. Like, at least in the last book, yes, she's on this journey where she doesn't really know what's going on, but all the people that she met were like important characters, like people that she could investigate. And even though she's like asking questions about them because she doesn't know a lot, like she's still like developing something, like a relationship is forming. But all the people that she talks to throughout the like this book so far, like none of them seem like they're gonna be important, and none of the relationships she develops with them seem meaningful. She's still like asking a million questions to all of them, and everyone just refuses to answer, and it's like pissing her off. It's pissing me off. Like, it's obvious that like, yeah, everyone knows something more than her. They won't tell her. And so both POVs are people who are just like not knowledgeable and don't know anything. And it's just kind of exhausting. And like, they have goals, but ultimately they're just there for the ride. Like, I don't think that they're playing an active part in their stories at the like from the 30 to 50% mark, at least 20 to 50% mark of this story. Additionally, not that this is like a romantasy and it needs to be super realistic all the time, but there's just so many things where it's just so convenient that she just keeps getting like almost foiled, almost killed, almost maimed, almost injured, because like it's supposed to be a dangerous environment, but she makes it out with like zero consequences. Like, she's always fine. Or someone is always just like conveniently there to save the day. And it happened like 4 or 5 times at this point where she like, you know, is running into danger, but then everything is fine. And that it's just so boring. And like, again, like she has her love interest from like the first novel, and he's not really like there. This is kind of a spoiler. Sorry. He's not really there for like at least the 50% into this book. And she was already kind of in love with him, so it's not like there was like a developing tension that needed to happen between them, but he's like at least 20 times more interesting than her. I'm sorry. Like, I want to know like what's going on in his life, and then he showed up randomly and he had nothing interesting to say, and now they're together, but it's still not that interesting. I'm really, really bored. I'm really struggling. Like, maybe something interesting might happen soon. I think I might like spoil the end for myself and just read through that really quickly, but I honestly am giving up on this book, and I'm really sorry. I didn't want to be a hater. Maybe it got like incredibly amazing from like the 50% mark onwards, but the first half of the book really truly did not do it for me. I just have like, I'm sorry. I don't have a dog in this fight. Okay, I wanted to like it. I don't like it. So yeah, I think I'm gonna not finish the book. Sorry for the people who are like, you need to read through the whole thing in order to give it an accurate rating. Like, I'll probably just rate this book like a 2-star. Like, it's not like the worst thing ever, but it's just really like, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about like second books in series, because I know they have like a very difficult role of like trying to build off the first one, but also do something different. And like the first book in the series is always like typically the best one, or starting off typically is like the best ones, because you have to like build off of like what you don't know, and then like end off on like a really big low point if it's like a trilogy, so like the third book can like help clean things up. I don't know. I feel bad judging it this harshly, but I'm not loving it. So yeah. Sorry, that's my update. I have a quick update that I decided to be a true hater and finish the book. I'm at 60%, and so I'm not like that much further in than I was before, but I have had to skip forward through all the smut scenes because they're so cringy and bad. And I was also correct about one thing that I will not say because it technically was a spoiler, and it didn't affect me at all because this book, I maintain this book is boring. It's not interesting. Snooze fest. I'll let you know if that opinion changes at the 100% mark. Thank you. Goodbye. Hi, I'm back. It's been like a week since I finished the novel, but I've been traveling, so I haven't had the chance to update you. Look at my background. Isn't it beautiful? I'm in the quad at the University of Washington to visit some friends, and it's so beautiful out. I'm a little bit embarrassed to be filming this in public, but I'm kind of in a corner, so hopefully no one walks past me. Look, I did my nails. Aren't they beautiful? Anyway, back to the book. So I did finish it because I wanted to be a proper hater and give all of my thoughts on the finished product, but I would say that the ending did get slightly more interesting. So it brought it back from just a complete snooze fest the whole time, but still overall, like, my thoughts on the book kind of remain the same. Like, I would not give this book more than a 2-star. I think it's quite bad and honestly a really big letdown from like the first novel. I was editing this video from myself in the past talking about how I was excited to read the second novel and like my thoughts on the first book, because I actually thought the first book was quite good, but here we are. So I have my notebook full of my notes and we're gonna go through them. So the first thing on my list is that I had to skip every single smut scene because it was so bad. It actually was like, it was truly reaching levels of cringe. I couldn't handle it. The second thing is that this book operates like on the condition, or like forces you to withhold your disbelief. There's literally only one person in the entire world with curly red hair, which is just so embarrassing. It's just unreal to read about. But yeah, overall, like I kind of mentioned, there's like two different points of view in this novel. Both of them are like royal women, and I just thought that like the reveals throughout this novel, like there weren't as many as the first one. Like the intrigue wasn't there like to keep going, and I just thought that they were so obvious. Like there's one major reveal at the very end of the novel, which I think you can clock on like within the first 10% of the novel, like the book, and all the other reveals or major plot developments, especially ones that were teased from the first novel, they're honestly all just revealed through info dumping from other people. Like the main characters don't really do any, like very rarely do any of their own work to solve their problems or meet their goals. It's just like someone else tells them the information or does the work for them to get them to that place, if that makes sense. And it kind of just hones in on the fact that these royal characters, like, they have no real skills. They're just kind of like mildly defiant when they don't get their way, and I wouldn't even count that as like bravery. It's just like you're unhappy that you're not getting to where you want to be, and I just think that that makes the characters so boring. Like they don't have a good amount of agency to solve their own problems without the resources of other people or like their wealth and power, which is also just such a coincidence, by the way, that they're just happen to be able to like get all this, sorry, there's a fly, it's distracting me, get all of this like power and wealth. There's like a moment where, speaking of that, like one of the characters kind of confronts, like they're having a confrontation with Odessa, which is the main character from the first novel, and how like all she does is like come around and like demand things, kind of like a spoiled brat. And they're so right, like these characters read like they're 16 years old, even though they're supposed to be much older and obviously more like, you know, wise and headstrong, and I just don't really see that. They're just kind of irritating to read from. And yeah, that kind of wraps up my thoughts on like the end of the novel. Nothing really different from like my updates before. Kind of a snooze fest overall, pretty big letdown from the first novel. Enough so that like I don't even care about any of like the future reveals of this novel, like I would just not continue on. And I think it's a trilogy. I don't think it's a series. I think it's a trilogy. I don't even think I would pick up the third book. And I'm shocked because I looked up the Goodreads a week ago or something, and this book has pretty good ratings. And I'm just confused like why the standard is so low. Like this character, I shit you not, is so boring and uninteresting. And I know that's just like a romantasy, but I think that we could do better. We could do better. There are better books out there. And even if they're a little bit corny, like they're just more compelling than this novel is. So yeah, overall letdown, but I'm glad that I can be a proper hater and I didn't just DNF it. So go me. Yay. Okay, I think this wraps up this video. You're gonna see me with this exact same background to update you on a different book. Hello. Welcome to a new vlog. To start off this video, I am going to talk about the current book that I'm reading, which is called A Man Called Ove by Fredrik Backman. I've actually read a book by Fredrik Backman before, which is called My Friends. I think it was his most recent release, or it was released last year. And so this is my second time reading from him. The first novel I read was the very first, or like when I read My Friends, that was the first I'd ever heard of him, though I know he's like a really popular author, and we read that book for the book club that I made. And I think it was good as a book club pick, but generally literary fiction is not, or like contemporary fiction is not really my cup of tea. I think it's good, but it's not like what I find most enjoyable if I'm picking up a book to read. So it was definitely a new experience for me to read something like that. And I didn't love the book. Like it was good, but it wasn't like super entertaining for me at all points. I thought it was thoughtful and like the writing was good, but the plot itself wasn't like super appealing. I think it was fun to like take apart in a book club, but not necessarily for me. So my friend actually annotated this book, A Man Called Ove, and gave it to me as a gift, which I've done this as a gift for other people before, and I think it's honestly a really thoughtful gift, and no one's ever done it for me, but my friend did it for me right before I left on this trip, and I thought that was so sweet and so thoughtful, and I've been having such a fun time reading all of his little like annotations of like what he thought throughout the book that I've been reading so far, and I think it's really making my reading experience a lot more fun. But I just wanted to give you like my thoughts on the book so far. So I'm about 60 pages in. I'm not sure what like the percentage of that is, but it's not too far. And basically this character Ove, I think that's how you pronounce it. He's just super, okay, sorry, I had to temporarily pause because people were walking by right in front of me and it was too embarrassing to talk to this camera. But this main character is this man called Ove, and he's just a super grumpy guy, and he's so fun to read from just because like everything he thinks about, just the world around him, the way he calls other characters, he's so miserable and like of a person, but it's so funny. He calls someone like a blonde weed, and I think weed is an underrated insult to call someone like you're a weed. Yes they are a weed. Oh my god, it's so funny. And compared to the other Fredrik Backman I've read from, like the main character's voice in this story is so strong, like stronger than like any book that I can think of that I've read recently. And so like being in his head is just such an enjoyable and like completely enveloping experience. So I'm having a really good time. I have really high hopes for this novel. I think it's gonna make me very sad, but also I've been laughing a lot. So that's my update. I'll let you know when I'm at the 50% mark.
Hi, I reached the 50% mark. I kind of mentioned before how I think this book is absolutely hilarious, and that is still maintaining to be true. I also mentioned that I know this book is sad, and I've definitely seen that. We were like flip-flopping in between like really cute like love happy moments and just things that are really sad and about loss and stuff, and we just hit like a really crazy reveal at the 50%, like exactly at the 50% mark. So I'll keep you updated. I think at the 100% mark, because my feelings aren't really changing about this book, how I'm feeling at the end. Yes. I just finished A Man Called Ove. It was so freaking sweet. I think like
people talk about this book like it's gonna make you cry, and there are sad moments, but I would just generally describe this book as tender. It's overall like just really, really funny and very sweet, and the way that Ove grows as a character and what happens in his life is just so, I don't know, it really tugs at your heartstrings, and I just feel like reading this book, um, it was annotated to me as a gift. I think I mentioned that. Has been such a good experience, and I had such a good time. And I feel like I'll look back at this book and I'll definitely reread it in the future, just with all the warm memories. And I think because of that, I would give this book like a 5 star. Definitely my favorite Frederick Bachman that I've read so far. I'm about to go watch the movie. They made a movie version called A Man Called Otto, I think, with Tom Hanks. Don't know why they changed the name from Ove to Otto, but maybe I'll let you know what I think about the movie. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the book. I think you should read it if you have time. Yeah. Okay, I'm back. I finished A Man Called Otto, and for the record, the reason why the name changes from A Man Called Ove to A Man Called Otto is that the original book, which I'm pretty sure is written in Swedish, takes place in Sweden, and is translated. That's Frederick Bachman's work. So his original story takes place in Sweden, and the neighbors in the story features this Iranian woman, and they made it like American. So they took the same characters, changed a couple of their names. For example, they changed Ove's name to Otto, and instead it takes place in America, and the neighbor woman, she's no longer Iranian, she's Mexican. So they did make like minor changes, but they honestly stayed pretty true to the original story. And so for the first half of the movie, I was really enjoying it. They took lines straight out of the book, which I thought was really nice. And so the way that they represented everything, I thought it was doing really well, obviously, like with the adaptation and changing it to America. I thought it was going well. But then I feel like near like the ending, it kind of just got really like info dumpy. I think the ending just felt really fast. The whole point of the book is that like you kind of get this slow pace of Ove like becoming less grumpy and more loving. And because honestly the story is just very tender, but in the movie it kind of goes from like 0 to 100, where like Otto becomes like nice super quick, like everything resolves really easily. Also I feel like in the book, this is a bit of a spoiler, so fast forward if you don't want to hear this, but there's such a huge like emotional moment that comes from Ove being called like grandpa and accepting that, and they kind of just don't, they call him grandpa like throughout the film, which I think is kind of like annoying, but it's fine. Overall I feel like the movie was just okay. Like I'd give it like a 4, maybe like a 3.5 star, just because I felt like the ending didn't really do it for me. But yeah, the book is way better, so definitely read the book. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!